What is going on, people? TripleM back again with another video. It's daily dose of football content, and today I've got a very short and sweet video for you guys discussing Manchester United. It's been a while since I've spoken about the club that I love so dearly and hold so close to my heart, because obviously we haven't played a game in like 2 years because, you know, it is what it is. So let's talk about Manchester United ahead of the Manchester Derby. There's a few things I want to talk about. Obviously, we'll talk about Marcus Rashford at the beginning of the video, but there's a handful of other things I want to get into. So Marcus Rashford, obviously, a few weeks ago put in a stellar performance and had a very big contribution towards Manchester United's 3-1 win against Arsenal, and since then he suffered a thigh injury which has seen him out of action since. He's missed international duty and he's missed duty for Manchester United in the Europa League as a result of that injury. And unfortunately, as ill-timed as that injury was, it seems like it's not getting any better for Manchester United, because Martial is still out, Harry Maguire has now also had a bit of a niggle with England on duty, and obviously Cristiano Ronaldo is not in the best of form, so Manchester United are in big trouble. So we thought. There's been reports to the contrary over the last 24 hours from The Sun, the Daily Mail, I think even the Manchester Evening News, and a handful of other outlets saying that Marcus Rashford could be back in time for the Etihad, the game at the Etihad against Manchester City. And that is fantastic news, because honestly, whether he's at 100% or not, I think Manchester United absolutely need Marcus Rashford. Now, I obviously, like many other Manchester United fans, had written Marcus Rashford off in the summer, and for good reason. He's been terrible, even though there's a loyalty and an affinity towards Marcus Rashford, not only because of the stuff he does off the field in terms of charity work and political work, but also because of the fact that he came through the academy. I've personally never been that kind of fan. I've never been the type of fan who's just blindly loyal towards a player just because they came through the academy. For me, it's about what you do on the pitch on match day, and for me, it's about whether or not you're having a positive contribution towards Manchester United being a successful team again. And if you're not, then you got to go. It's as simple as that. It's nothing personal. So that's where I'm at with Marcus Rashford. Now, has he played well this season? Yeah. Has he been one of our best players this season, behind maybe Christian Eriksen, behind maybe Jadon Sancho? Yeah, he definitely has been. He definitely has been a bright spark. And what makes his season all the more impressive so far is the fact that he's doing it as a number 9. We all agree that Marcus Rashford's worst position in the front three, across that front three, is definitely the number 9 position. We don't agree like on a lot of things as a Manchester United fan base, but we all agree that the number 9 position is not where Marcus Rashford thrives at all. And yet somehow his comeback story at Manchester United seems to be beginning with him playing through the position that we all least expected him to be playing through under Erik ten Hag. And it's working. It's working. You cannot deny that. You cannot fault that. Will it continue to work long term? Nobody knows, right? Who knows? I personally don't think it will be sustainable. I'll believe it when I see it. But for the time being, I'm going to give credit where credit is due. And I'm not going to be stubborn in my opinion. I am going to give credit where credit is due and say that Marcus Rashford has been a bright spark for Manchester United. And long may it continue. But I think the issue here is much bigger than just Marcus Rashford. It's much bigger than just Cristiano Ronaldo. It's much bigger than Martial. It's about the fact that we just don't have squad depth. If Marcus Rashford continues to struggle with injury, we are in very big trouble this season. And this is why I had an issue with the money that we spent this season. Not so much the personnel who's coming to the team, but rather the decisions made by the board, right? If you really break down our transfer business coming to the season, you can see that we were actually very inadequate in our preparation, right? Because Christian Eriksen was a free transfer. Malacia was 13 million. That's a drop in the ocean compared to what we spent on Martinez. Casemiro, I almost forgot his name because he barely plays for Manchester United, which is crazy. Scott McTominay starting ahead of Casemiro. Can you believe that, by the way? So, yeah, anyways, Malacia, 13 million. That's a drop in the ocean compared to Martinez, Casemiro, and Antony, what we spent on those 3 players. So, essentially, the bulk of our budget, if not all of our budget, went on 3 positions. 3 positions. In a squad that we all agreed needed major reinforcements in a number of different positions. We all agree that we are 1 injury away in every position from being in big trouble, barring a couple of positions. Maybe you could say the centre-back region is where the most depth is this season. But even then, if Varane or Martinez gets injured, we're playing Maguire, we're playing Lindelof. I don't think that's a good thing, right? So every single position, including the GK position, we need reinforcements, and instead we decide to blow our budget on 3 signings, who, by the way, are great signings. Martinez, great signing. Antony, great signing. Casemiro, great signing. But at what cost did we blow our budget on those 3 players? At the cost of squad depth, at the cost of actually reinforcing other positions. And this is the thing with football fans. They don't understand the principle of duality. They don't understand the principle of 2 truths living in the same realm. You can praise Antony, Casemiro, and Martinez for their individual performances, whilst also recognizing that the long-term decisions of the club maybe weren't the best in the summer. That should be completely plausible and acceptable for most football fans to rationalize and say, wow, this guy's talking sense. Yet I bet you someone watching this video probably thinks I'm just waffling and thinks I'm talking a load of nonsense and thinks that actually Anthony was the best possible signing we could have possibly made. And Casemiro will eventually come into the team. And Martinez is a fantastic signing. So I don't know what you're complaining about. Plus, we've won 4 games in the bounce. So why are you being so negative? It's because I want to see Manchester United win. And I want to see Manchester United put themselves in the best possible position to do that. And I don't think we did that with the decisions we made in the summer. But, whatever. I've waffled about this enough. Let's move on. Let's talk about something positive. Let's talk about our midfield. Let's talk about Eriksen. Let's talk about Bruno. Let's talk about Scott McTominay. Because for the first time in, I want to say, nearly 5 years, since the days of Herrera, Pogba, and Matic playing through the middle, I want to say we finally have a midfield 3 that's functional. We finally have a midfield 3 that fills us with confidence as a fan base. We finally have a midfield 3 that can go to virtually any team in the Premier League and put up a fight. Maybe not win every single fight, maybe not win every single battle, but it can put up a battle, as opposed to McFred, the dark ages of McFred, where we could barely string 5 passes together on a consistent basis. Now we have a midfield that can not only do the fundamentals together very well, a midfield 3 that not only has a great understanding and seems to enjoy playing together, but is actually performing in a tangible way, is actually progressing the ball up the field in a tangible way. We can see it in terms of the eye test visually as United fans. We can see the improvement. We can actually say, wow, our midfield is a lot better. It's tremendously better than it was a few years ago, or a year ago, actually, I should say. And that's a huge, huge positive. That's obviously in part due to great coaching by Erik ten Hag and the fact that he's able to translate this philosophy of his in part into the team. But that's also down to great individual performances. And that's also down to Eriksen. Okay, Eriksen has revolutionized that midfield. And if you don't believe that Eriksen is the catalyst for change at Manchester United, then I beg you to please go watch Denmark, because Denmark's quality in terms of personnel and profile of player is nowhere near that of most Premier League teams. And yet somehow, with Eriksen in their team at the base of the midfield, dictating things from deep, they look like a team that can go toe-to-toe with the best in the world. Eriksen bossed the show in Denmark's last 2 international games, and it's not a coincidence. It's not luck. It's not a fluke. It's because this guy is a magician. This guy is a genius. This guy brings so much to our team, and I am so glad that Brentford could not convince him to stay and that he decided to join us instead, because honestly, what a signing. What a miracle that we were able to get this guy on a free. And speaking of, Bruno and McTominay, in the summer, the Wavy Baller Hub, I butchered his name there, Temi, he runs a channel. He's a football guy who talks about football, and his channel's called the Wavy Baller Hub. Go subscribe to him. He said that there's players who are going to improve, or that he believes that there's players who are going to improve under Erik ten Hag that we don't necessarily like. And as long as he can get an extra 15% out of those players, it will be a good thing. And I said something similar. I essentially said that, yeah, I believe players that we don't like are going to improve under Erik ten Hag as well. And that's coming to pass, because McTominay has been a different player this season. And it wasn't just one game against Arsenal. Even the performances before that, I saw subtle improvements in McTominay's game. Now, is he showing for the ball? No. He hasn't fixed that about his game. He still goes hiding when Manchester United are progressing the ball up the field. But maybe that's not a bad thing, because Eriksen is doing that role anyways. Maybe that's not what he's been asked to do by the manager. Maybe Scott McTominay needs to be praised for his defensive work, because for once, I can actually see a tangible improvement and a tangible thing that Scott McTominay brings to the game. I can actually show you stats. I obviously don't have them prepared for this video, but I've done it in previous match reactions, and the videos are there, where I've spoken about why Scott McTominay has improved this season, and there's actual numbers and metrics to back it up. There are numbers to back up the eye test. And Scott McTominay has been better this season. The question is, will he keep it going? Similar to Marcus Rashford, has my opinion changed of him? Of course it hasn't. 6 games is not going to change my opinion of any player. But for the time being, I'm happy for him. And long may it continue. Long may he continue to displace Casemiro, a 5-time Champions League winner, mind you, from the team. Right? Like, as long as he continues to do that, I'm a happy chappy in the camp as a Manchester United fan. But anyways, I've got nothing else to say about that. I mean, obviously our defense has been magnificent, but I don't need to wax lyrical about that for the next 3 minutes. Otherwise, I'd be wasting your time. You know how good our defense is this season. I'm happy for Delo. I'm happy for Martinez. I'm happy for Varane. I'm happy for Malacia. And hopefully Luke Shaw, Maguire, and the rest of the crew can get their act together from the bench when they're called upon, because inevitably our back 4 will suffer injuries. And whether you like it or not, Maguire, Shaw, Lindelof, Bailey, well, Bailey's gone now, isn't he? Whoever else is on our bench who I can't seem to remember for some weird reason. Wan-Bissaka, yeah, I didn't mention him. Wan-Bissaka. All of these players, I hope that they get their act together, and when they're called upon, inevitably, they actually show the versions of themselves that made us believe in them as United fans, and not the versions of themselves that we've seen over the last couple of years. Sorry, something happened there. But anyways, it's been your boy TripleM. Peace.